we got our marinade taken care of, and now we need to start preparing everything else that's going to be going in. We should start our garlic mayo next. That would be the most logical thing to begin because we want that to start exchanging flavor and energy with everything else. Now there's some measurement options for you. It's a half a cup of mayonnaise with a garlic clove. I have a 1 ounce scoop at home. So I tend to use my scoop and scoop however many ounces I would want, 4 ounces for that half cup. Or you can use your 1/2 cup. And right now my mayonnaise is kind of low. So the scoop is just going to fight me. So actually this time I am going to go ahead and measure this into a measuring cup and then into here for my garlic mayonnaise part of my recipe. I'm going to have exactly half a cup in here. So I got my scraper spatula out. We'll use that to get our mayonnaise together. We're just a little short. Ooh, awesome. So we'll crack open our next container. There we go. So we got half a cup of mayo. And just let that kind of drip out. This back, oh, wrong one. This back in my fridge so that I'm not abusing the time and temperature. And now we know for our allergen folks that we've introduced mayonnaise. That means there's egg products involved in this recipe. Break out my favorite thing, my microplane again. Take that hard outer shell off of my garlic. Oh, my favorite part. It's fighting you guys. There we go. I got it. I feel like it's like trying to grab a piece of wallpaper. Good luck. All right, I'm going to try to get this off my cutting board right away. I don't have to deal with that. Microplane's ready. So this microplane gets a lot of use in my house. I'm going to use it again later today when I make cheesecake with another class. So that'll be awesome for them. I'm going to try to break this down as much as possible. Perfect. Get all that in there. Anything on the back side goes right into your recipe. Perfect. See how nice and easy that was? And rinse out my hands. Grab my spatula back and just give that a mix. So we want to do that now or a little bit in advance. You could even have done this maybe with your marinade the night before, just to let that again exchange energy, exchange flavor. You know what you're making basically, you guys? Aioli. You're just making fancy mayonnaise, okay? You ever heard, oh, with garlic aioli? It's just fancy mayonnaise, you guys. There, so we got that mixed up. We'll let that chill out, do its thing. I'll set that aside. And keep going. So our call for sliced mushrooms, sliced green pepper, sliced red pepper, sliced onion, correct? Emoji? Anybody? Thank you. All right. So this is how I tackle a pepper. See if I can get down good on the cutting board for you. I've washed this already. I like to tackle it right up here. So I got my knife in my hand. Notice my grip is right up where it belongs. And I like to kind of get real close to that green part right there. See that? Because now I can just pop it right out And I have all of this usable pepper. And then in here, it kind of comes out real nice and easy. I can just separate it just barely. Reach in and grab it. I didn't have my junk bowl out. All right. Reach in. I'm just going to reach in and grab it. Gone. See how nice and easy that was? So my recipe called for what? Half a pepper, right? Emoji. Give me an emoji. See if I'm remembering right. Yeah, thank you. All right, so we were julienning this, right? We're gonna go for like a nice thin julienne. So I just have to go ahead, give it that thin slice. This one I don't love. I don't like all that white stuff on there, so I'll trim it off. Perfect. We're already making progress. We got marinade done, garlic aioli done. Oopsie, I'm already calling it aioli because that's kind of what it is. All right, half a pepper, check. Take care of this one. See how we didn't waste any of that pepper? That's awesome, right? We got that part ready. Get our produce bowl ready. Put my peppers in. Super simple. Next, my washed green pepper. Ooh. I like to get real up close to that little stem part because then you can just make it fall right off. And then all this, we just give it a quick little separation. Make it come away. Now I can just reach right in, grab it. Bye. I see just a few seeds in there, no biggie. So I'm just gonna reach in and grab them. This isn't something you have to be gentle and tender and, timid with. Just get her done. So I have a few left right there. No biggie. Just grab them, get rid of them, shake them off. All right, so I just need half a green pepper. Set aside this for an hour's demo. We'll use this up. That in my produce. Ooh, that's way too big. What am I doing? What are you doing, Miss P? Better cut that down. So when we make our cuts, we have to make decisions about our cuts based on our customer's bite, right? We're trying to get a little bit of everything in every bite. So when we make our cuts small enough, all of this stuff fits in their little mouths. One more. Half a green pepper, check. All right, I washed my mushrooms. So we'll give these guys a little slice. That one didn't have a stem. I'm going to shave the stem and then give it a slice. Ooh, I just man down, threw one on the floor. All right, shaving that stem just a little bit. Go ahead and give it a cut. We move with purpose. We're getting the job done, right? Shouldn't be painful to cook this one. Ooh. Notice because I was using my blade at my strength, as soon as something slipped, I was able to pull my hand out of the way. These mushrooms can be a little wobbly. So there's some, we wash our mushrooms last minute. Just so you know, we don't want to wash our mushrooms days in advance. They'll get ruined. They don't really like getting washed very much. And we have to remember that mushrooms are grown in sawdust. So they're grown in the earth, kind of like lettuce. I'm going to reset this cutting board and get it cleaned up again before we start our onion. Notice I had my stabilizing paper towel down. All right, time to get to my onion now. Yeah. All right, so our recipe calls for half an onion. I'm still gonna do the proper start cuts. I'm gonna shave off the root, just barely. And I'm gonna cut off the flower. This is where your diagram would come into play. Now I divide it in half. Notice that I'm straight up and down on my blade. Let's get you guys straight up and down on the blade. There we go, going for it. All right, I'm gonna set half my onion aside. Go ahead and take this off. So notice I didn't just hack it in half. I did those proper first set steps, right? And this is a julienne, so in this situation, we're not dicing. So at this time, now I am gonna go ahead and get rid of my root. And this is where we do the radius cut, where the entire time we're aiming for the center of the onion. And what it'll do is it'll make even beautiful julienne cuts. So watch me go. So my blade is now aiming towards the center of my onion. I'm just gonna make a nice little cut. So see how those look, how they look all nice and even and beautiful. But once I get up to about the center, I don't want to be working this way. That's awkward. So no biggie. We're just going to go ahead and flop it back down on that side and work where it's comfortable again. Ooh, I didn't get all the way down. There we go. Notice I'm using my blade and not my strength. This isn't about pushing. This is about making my blade do the job. I'm right up on top of this onion. I got no gases coming out making my eyes hurt. And then look at how tiny this is, you guys. No biggie, because I just use my blade and not my strength, and I make it happen. If I was pushing, that would have broken all these little things apart and it would have fallen apart on me, right? Right. All right, so we got that. We got our peppers. We got our mushrooms, and now we got our half of an onion. Perfect. We got all our produce ready. Now I think it's time to start cutting that steak up, huh? Don't you think? And you guys, I got a little surprise. I also marinated some chicken because chicken's totally an option here. Totally an option. You don't got to run out and buy a steak if you don't want to. You don't have to. If you got frozen chicken, you guys, in the refrigerator, use that. Why not? So I did get out some chicken for us to just, stretch it out, make it fun. All right, we got a nice clean cutting board. We're ready to handle our meat. All right, put somewhere. There we go. There we go. So we got the beef that I prepped yesterday. Looks good. And then we got the chicken here sitting in some marinade. I'm going to work on this second and this first. Okay. So set the chicken aside, break out our ribeye. And when we think about how we're going to cut this, we're going to cut against the grain and not with the grain. Against the grain, tough stuff. With the grain is tough stuff. If we cut with the grain, if we think of it being able to ball up and get tough when it's cooking. If we cut against the grain, it's only got its short little strands left and it just can't ball up. So it's gonna stay more tender. All right, so let's get open our layer here. Now our directions have us cutting this meat, and we are going to be cooking the steak with the marinade as well. So I don't want to lose my marinade here. I'm going to keep it in the bag. Here we go. Is that good, you guys? Thumbs up or something? I don't know. All right, I'm gonna take this and have it because I have a second hour class to demo. And just gonna swipe half of this sauce for our, when we cook it, put the other half away. I gotta rinse my hands off now. I gotta cut this up. All right. So let's get into the camera here. So right here, we can see the grains are running like this. So I want to keep them all short, and I'm going to keep cutting along this line, okay? And once I get to this big fat piece, I'm going to go ahead and trim that out. So our directions tell us thin, 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 right? As thin as we can get. Again, this is going to be a blade activity and not a strength activity. Little piece of fat there, I'm going to go ahead and take away, but I'm going to leave this so that it'll melt down and give us some awesome flavor. Another shave. Stitching off this little fat piece here. Thin, thin shaves. This might be a fun one too. If you had a commercial business, I'd probably marinate these and freeze them, and I would probably use a meat slicer, a commercial meat slicer, to do this. That wouldn't be one way you would be able to do it in the business much faster. Ooh, that got a little thick. Just trim it up. Because we have the knife. We can control all of this. So I deliberately chose to cook or to cut the beef first, since beef has a lower minimum internal cooking temperature, rather than cutting the chicken first, which has a higher minimum internal cooking temperature. We chose to cut our produce first in order to help reduce the spread of pathogens. So we'll get rid of that. That's that subcutaneous fat. And then right here is what that silver skin that they're talking about. And then this meat attached to it is just so thin that I'm not going to try to rescue that. Okay, back at my grain. I want to get turned around here. Lovely. It's kind of fun work, a little bit of putsy work, which is kind of nice to be able to just focus and concentrate on something for a little while. Keep yourself from getting distracted by all the rest of the world. Why cooking is so great, because we can just focus on what we're doing. And we can tune everything else out. There we go. So we got to that big fatty part. So we're just going to go to the other side now, ditch that off. I could save that for beef stock or broth. I should say broth, shouldn't I, huh? Meat chunks means broth. Just bones means stock. All right, here we go. Nice flavorful fatty pieces here. That equals flavor. We just have to make sure it's the right kind of internal fat so that it can break down as it cooks. All right, we got this outer edge here. I'm going to just shave this off. It's got some, yeah, I think we're past where we want to go now. We're just going to get rid of that. There we go. I think I still got a good one right here. So I'm going to trim that up. Use my guiding hand to get it, the last of it. This is, we don't want to waste any of this. A lot of energy went into raising this and harvesting this animal and bringing it to us. So we want to treat it with respect and use every possible piece. All right, I think I've gotten like that big strip of silver skin. Now we can ditch that off. So we got a decent amount here. I'm just gonna pick it up, right back in this little marinade bowl. That's what I'm gonna do. To set aside, let's reset our cutting board for the chicken. I can't see my camera. So I'm just gonna reset my cutting board. Wash and sanitize before we enter the process of the game. I have to make sure my hand is washed. Minute it that fat from the steak dissolve. All right, let's go back to let's work on the chicken. We have the chicken. I haven't picked out like the uglier chickens in my frozen chicken pouch because why not? I'm gonna cut them up. So this was a nice spot for me to be able to use those little ugly weird ones that generally don't want to go on the grill. So that's a good thing. So this is another nice time where we can go ahead and shave off any of our mystery stuff like that. That would be okay. Flip it over, take a look. They did a pretty good job getting this tendon out of the tenderloin. So the chicken breast, this is the part of the chicken that is the outside. And then this is the part where it looks a little rough, is the part where they cut away from the ribs. And then, so this would be on the outside right here. And then right here is where the breastbone is. And this is actually where the chicken tenderloin lives. So it's not here anymore because they separate that. Right. So my grain is running this way. So that means I don't want to cut it this way. We don't want to cut with the grain. We want to cut against the grain for tender things. So that means I can't pay attention to what I'm up to. I'm going to set this. I think I'm going to tackle it like this. That way. So my grains, again, are kind of running this way. That way I can just go ahead and make sure I don't make tough cuts. Looks great. Moving forward. That's a weird part here. So I see my grain running that way. That weird little spot right here where the wing is. Okay. So you make a plan ahead of time. You know, just where grain is headed so that you can make more tender decisions. So got our chicken cut. I'll get a bowl to set it in. Swipe half the marinade. So that is that second hour. All right, guys, I've been touching that up, so I'm going to go ahead and reset my cutting board and my knife and everything, so that when it's time to build, I have a clean cutting board. All right, team. I think my next direction. correct, is to go ahead and heat up a pan. Does that sound right? Is it time for me to heat up my saute pan? Somebody give me an emoji. Tell me that I'm heading in the right direction. All right, I'll check my recipe. All right, so we've made all our cuts. Ooh, I haven't prepped my French bread. I'm gonna wait for my cutting board to dry for that. All right, heat a large skillet, add marinade and meat to pan, cook it till it's done, then add my peppers, mushrooms, and onions and cook them until they're soft. Okay. All right, let's go over to the stove. So far, I can get this close though. All right, we're heating up our pans. Now the rules are we heat the pan, then we heat the oil, and then we add our product. That way things don't stick. Oops, wrong side. We heat the pan, but notice I don't have it on like as hot as you can possibly get it. It's just a nice mild temperature. I grab my olive oil, get that out so that I can get it ready. We're gonna need a wooden spoon, aren't we? Maybe one for each, one for chicken, one for beef. I got one. We'll use the spoon ladle catcher here. Spoon catcher here, perfect. So these should be getting warm. I can feel heat coming off of them. Yeah, they're warm. Get a little bit of oil in there though, just a little. The whole point of this isn't to like brown it. This isn't a frying activity. It's just a little saute. The other thing that I want to do right now is go ahead and I'm going to adjust my oven rack. I like where it is right now, and I'm going to go ahead and set it on broil so that it's preheating while we're working. So we're going to get our oven on broil. If you don't have the broil setting, no biggie. Just put it on 475 and you'll bake it to melt all the cheese and everything. All right, so my oil isn't quite hot enough yet. You can kind of tell when it starts to have a more liquidy, dancey look to it. I'm gonna make sure I spread this oil out all over the bottom of the pan, kind of fill in those pores that I've talked about in the past. Our oil's become very liquidy now, and we get to go ahead and add this. Now, because there is liquids in this, you're going to hear some sound. It's going to be like, right? If the meat was dry, it would make less of a popping sound, but it's going to make a little bit of a popping sound probably. Let's see. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, yeah, this isn't even hot enough. I put a little liquid on there. It didn't start to make any noise. There we go. And then there's just been a transition of my oil. I can see little dimples in it. It almost looks like a golf ball. Same over here. It's kind of that visual cue that I need to tell me that this is hot enough. So I'll go ahead and add that. Get this going. I'll rinse my hand quick. Now, because there's liquid, you're going to get like that over splatter. You put an apron on if you want to protect your shirt. Don't wear your favorite sneakers if you don't want to get anything on them, things like that. All right. Trying to make sure this is all separating out so it all starts to cook. I just pressed that. I didn't mean to do that. So chicken's totally an option in our Philly cheesesteak. What if you don't have red wine vinegar? I use something else. A balsamic might be amazing. All right, we like what's happening here. Probably a good spot for a saute toss. Pat stack with this. Just saute toss in. If you don't want to practice it on this, you could even put like rice or beans in a saute pan and go outside and practice your toss. That might be an interesting activity for somebody to go out there and watch. Okay, so do you see how in here we're getting down to just, help me. There we go. We're getting down to just a little bit of red on here. So I'm going to go ahead and toss some of my veggies on the beef side. The chicken side isn't ready yet. And I'm going to move our camera. Hold on. All right, check it out. 2 pans. Got our loaf of bread we're going to move over. Now, this is a place where I feel like we need to be adding salt for 2 reasons. One, we need to salt as we go. If we do that, our customers will end up putting less salt on their own in the end. There's no amount of salt we can coat the outside of something with to make it taste as good as if we just salt it as we went. Okay? Grab some. I'm kind of a fan of kosher salt when I'm doing anything but baking. It's a little cheaper than sea salt, a little easier to work with. The second reason we're salting this right now is because we just introduced these vegetables. And if we add salt in this saute process, it will help the vegetables, it'll like help rupture their cells and release the liquids and help us create a more flavorful sauce. How's the sound with these drizzling sounds? I hope okay. Let's check the text box. There we go. How's the sound going, you guys? All right. I'm just going to cook these veggies now until they're tender. And then we'll be able to start building our Philly cheesesteak. So since that's happening, let's multitask. Let's talk about this. Like I said, we should do later. My clean cutting board. Got my baguette. Got my serrated slicer. All right, so they're asking us to cut it down the half, right? So we're going to do that. And we're going to leave the bottom intact, though. We're going to fill this. So ready. Perfect. I say visually, I'm kind of wishing for something maybe red in this chicken one. I'm just checking for doneness, and my chicken here is looking great. So we're doing good. So let's grab our cheese and start popping on it. Yes. Our directions have us buying mozzarella. Our directions have us buying mozzarella. I chose to buy a blend. I chose the Italian style blend. It's got mozzarella, provolone, Romano, Asiago, Parmesan, and all those melt really nice. And they have kind of a nice flavor profile. So, and I want to be able to make a sauce later. And I want to be able to make my own Alfredo later. So I kind of want the cheese in the house. So we always want to make sure we purchase things for our homes and our restaurants that have multiple uses across different menu items so that we keep our food costs reasonable. Now, to prevent cross-contamination, I'm not going to dig my fingers into this bag. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a bowl and work from there. Put this back in the fridge, PCS food. Somebody remind me how much cheese it was calling for on the recipe. I feel like it was a pretty small amount, like 2 tablespoons or something like that. That sound right? Text box me. All right, we got beautiful color happening on these onions. Let's see if it's tender. Nope, it's still slipping away from me. Let's check our pepper. Nope, not quite yet. See? For directions have us putting a generous amount of garlic mayo or garlic aioli on here. So I have my sandwich spreader, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a decent amount and spread it all through the inside of this. Decent amount, spread it all through this one too. Trying to close on me. There, I win. All right, I got that part prepped. I'll almost rinse that off. Now on the sheet pan that you put in your oven, I'm going to use this sheet pan, pretty similar like the styles that we have at school even. But I'm going to just fire hazard warnings. Do not put parchment paper down on this. You're going to be using the broiler. So if you feel like you need to protect your pan and make cleanup easier, use aluminum foil. Don't use parchment paper. I'm not going to use either because once this comes out of the oven, I'm going to hit it right away and get it clean rather than letting it sit and cool down and turn into cement. So we'll be fine. I'm ready to build, so I'm going to put a generous amount. Wait in here. There we go. Of Philly cheesesteak in here. I'm going to grab that. Now, some of you guys are growing. You're going to be way bigger sandwiches than this. There we go. Second time, load up this chicken one. So this also really does a nice job of tagging the bases too with, we got a vegetable, we got multiple vegetables, we got a protein, we got a carb. It does a really nice job there. All you need to do now is get yourself like maybe a pear and some whipped cream and you're good to go, right? All right, so we got that going and then we have our direction for cheese. So I'm gonna grab or something to help me spread this. Try not to get too much cheese on your pan. If you do, pick it up. That's just less cleaning for you later. Right? All right. All right. Just a smidge more here. Okay. So we built 2 Philly cheesesteaks, and now it's time to put them in and broil them. All right. So let's see what happens with my camera. Welcome to the broiler. So down below, this is where we got the flame going, and we're gonna sit it in here the long way so it's with the flame. But notice how I have it down low. I don't have it right up next to the flame. The point of this isn't to set it on fire, it's to melt it. So also with my broiler, I either prop it open like that with like a wooden spoon, or I just leave it open. Don't shut your oven when you're broiling. Also another good idea, especially for new cooks when broiling, is just to set timers. It's super easy to get distracted and not get in there and do what we have to do. Do I have any taste testers in the house? Sweet, I got 2 people in this house that are gonna taste test for me. So let's leave the camera on this guy while it does its work. You can see the cheese melting away. And even with that half recipe of beef and a half recipe of chicken, so I'd say that whole recipe of beef could have covered that whole like 18-inch baguette. I bought one of those par-baked baguettes and just cooked it off for 10 minutes before class began. All right, good things are happening. I see a little bit of browning happening on that back one. Do you see it? We're gonna let it go just a little further because that brown caramely cheese is always one of those things that makes our guests so happy. I can see this front one is going a little bit slower. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a hot pad and push it back or rotate it in the oven. Do a 180-degree turn on it. See how beautiful that's starting to look? Let's get that chicken one looking the same. Lovely. And that's it. We got Philly cheesesteaks, you guys. I'm gonna pull them out, get them on a plate. We'll get you guys dismissed. So we have lovely, lovely Philly cheesesteaks or Philly chicken steak, whatever you want to call it. We get that onto a plate. Technology issues. There we go. Oh, this one too, though. I feel like it needs some garnish. Wouldn't you say? I can't just leave that alone. Let's give it some garnish. So right before we send it out to our customer, let's just give it a little puff of parsley. What do you say? I just happen to have some dried parsley at home. It makes all the difference. Look at that. So pretty. There we go. All right.